instructed to kill and then to
Yeah, yeah, but still the question would come up, how is the teacher going to know whether he actually killed or not? If he just wanted to get the fingers, he could cut the finger off, supposedly the woman who's sleeping outside, take the finger and say to the teacher, these are the fingers of people I've killed. And so the poor people who had their fingers cut off, they'll survive. They could go about their day-to-day tasks. They just have to do it with a missing finger.
There's another question with that, and that is that why would the teacher think that Angulimala would take him seriously?
Yeah,
He requires him to kill people.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like the teacher could demand the figures without the killing. First, why would the teacher demand the killing? And for himself.
Yeah.
Two, why would he think that Angulimala would take him seriously?
I mean, that was the point that I brought up, I think, when I was giving an account of the story. Or I took it from the other point of view, from Angulimala's point of view. Why should he have any kind of respect or reverence for this teacher and think the teacher's words should be heeded in that case? I mean, even if I were, say, a university student in America, maybe I have a promise of a great job with some corporation. They say, all you have to do is complete your degree at Yale or Harvard. And once you get that degree, we'll give you a job with, $500,000 a year. And then my professor says, okay, you've passed your qualifying exams, you've passed your oral defense of your position, your dissertation is passed, but you're not finished yet. You have to get the fingers of, let's say, 100 people. I'm going to think, what is this guy, a madman or something? And I go to the police and report him to the police.
No, the whole thing is that there's so many things like this in the story that it strikes me as an extraordinarily implausible story. The reason for the story is in order to counter what must have been, common questions and beliefs, like people must have felt, well, the Buddha is so pure, he's so ethical, he's so good, he's so enlightened. What is the point of my trying to become a Buddhist when, when there's no way I can reach that kind of infinite goodness and enlightenment? And so Angulimala then is trotted out as the perfect example. Here's this guy. He can become enlightened. So don't tell me you're worse than Angulimala.
That's really excellent point. It's sort of like taking, I say 2 points are coming through the story. One point is what you brought up is, one can't conceive of doing almost anything worse than killing a lot of people. If somebody kills a lot of people, you think, he's like the reckless, in Christian terms, we say the sinner who's bound for damnation. And so if he can be sort of transformed, converted, redeemed, and even brought on the path to arhatship, then me, because I spend a lot of hours on the internet, and I'm lazy, and wandering mind, and occasionally craving, and I get angry easily. I'm sometimes a little bit nasty to my friends. You can't tell me that I can't do it. Look, man, Angulimala did it. You guys do it too. So that's, I think, one of the sort of underlying motives behind the story. The other is, of course, a way of exalting the Buddha. If Buddha can teach and transform people like Sariputta, Moggallana, Mahakassapa, who are already truth seekers, already inclined to the life of renunciation. They were already ascetics, wandering ascetics before they met the Buddha. Buddha transformed them, got them on the way to the realization of enlightenment. He could transform, the decent, respectable young men and women of the towns. Okay, that's understandable, but you have to show that he can transform even the most degraded type of person. I haven't refreshed my knowledge of the Gospels recently, but aren't there comparable stories in the Bible about Jesus, the ministry of Jesus?
Something as extreme as this.
Yeah.
I mean, when Jesus is on the cross, right, there's the thief and the murderer next to him, and he tells him he's going to be in paradise.
Yeah.
Things like that. So certainly doing something that entitles you to be crucified under Roman law is not something that will prevent you from going to heaven and such. But there's nothing like Angulimala.
Yeah. Judy, was that your name? Excuse me? Claudia, that's right, Claudia, sorry.
I'm wondering if there is a side message here of the dangers of blindly following one's superiors and instead of one's direct experience, and that the example being so ludicrous makes it clear that, even in the that if somebody is inclined to not follow their own direct experience, how dangerous that can be, even when it would seem so rational to do it. Do any of the texts talk about that as a side message?
Yeah, that is a good point in relation to the way the commentarial version of the story has come down. Because it's in the commentary that we get, we were actually discussing that story, but it's in the commentary that we get the version where it's the Angulimala's guru who gives him that command, and so he feels obliged to fulfill it because it's the command of his teacher. I haven't seen that discussed in the commentary. It's in the Pali commentary itself, but in a modern account of the Angulimala story, which is in a book that I actually put together, it's called Great Disciples of the Buddha, but this version was written by a German scholar named Helmut Hecker. He wrote the Angulimala account. He develops this point that it shows how in India in the Buddha's time, people would blindly follow the decree of their guru, no matter what the guru said. And of course, this goes against the Buddha's advice in the Kalama Sutta. Do not follow the instructions of a guru, thinking that he is respected by us. But use your own moral reflection. What is wholesome? What is unwholesome? And reject the unwholesome, do what is wholesome. Yeah, so this applies to the way the story has come down in the commentary. In the sutta itself, we don't find that part of the story, where it's the instructions of the teacher that leads Angulimala to this murderous career. Did you have another, Barbara?
Pali Canon, we can thank Ananda for that their reports.
Yeah.
Is that true of the stories also? What do we know about the real origin?
Yeah. I mean, this brings up another point, which I think is partly legend, which is the story that everything in the sutta comes down through what Ananda had heard and then what he reported, and so the scriptures have been preserved exactly as Ananda had remembered them. If that were the true, then every one of the early Buddhist schools would have preserved the suttas in exactly the same form. There would have been no differences between them. But from the fact that there are differences in the different versions, though the teachings are basically the same, but the way some sections get developed differently in one transmission than in another transmission, sometimes a portion which in one tradition is in this sutta turns up in another tradition, in another sutta. We know that quite a bit has been added, transposed, developed, elaborated, compressed. Yeah, so this, regarding the methodology, probably the most reliable methodology is to compare the different versions of a sutta that we have. For that one has to know, say, Pali, Buddhist Sanskrit, to the extent that there are some Sanskrit fragments of suttas that are left. Chinese, because many of the collections were transmitted into Chinese. Some translated into Tibetan language. Then there's a language which was used in the northwest of India. They call it Gandhari, and some versions of some texts have come down in that language. So what one does is to take the different versions, compare them to the extent that one can find a common core. That we could say, we still can't say that this definitely comes from Ananda, but we could say that this is probably the oldest core of the story, or the oldest nucleus of a sutta. Then what comes later, we have to negotiate between them, see what seems most logical, most probable. It's a pretty complex task.
So what, do we know anything about the likely origins of this particular story from that?
I would say no. I think it's quite possible that there was an original story about a murderer who was taught and transformed by the Buddha and then admitted as a monk and achieved arhatship. Because a version of this, or at least an allusion to it, does come down in the Vinaya Pitaka, the book of discipline, when the Buddha established a monastic order, and then he was giving, or he allowed the monks to give the ordination to others, and he himself was giving ordination to others. Angulimala was ordained, of course, by the Buddha, as reported here, but this is also reported in the Vinaya. And then it's said that Angulimala at the time had been, today his poster would have been put up in the post office or the police office, wanted dead or alive. A decree had gone out, if anybody captures Angulimala and brings him to the court of Savatthi, he gets a great reward. But here the Buddha ordained Angulimala, rendering him invulnerable to capture and to a criminal trial. So then this complaint came to the Buddha from the king, and so the Buddha laid down a decree that from now on, any criminal who is wanted by the king, we would say, or wanted by the state, cannot be given the ordination. We would say a felon, a wanted felon, cannot be ordained. He should be, it's part of the questions that are asked of a candidate for ordination. Are you wanted for a crime, in effect? Similarly, a criminal who's escaped from prison and then seeks ordination cannot be given cannot be ordained. Because if the Buddha went on allowing criminals wanted by the state to take ordination, then the Sangha is going to fill up pretty quickly with a rather undesirable. The kid says to his mom, "Mom, I'm going to the monastery to see the monks." The mother wouldn't say, "Oh, my child, he's such a good boy. He goes to the monastery to listen to the monks." No, the mother's going to say, "Don't go there. It's a dangerous place. You'll get yourself killed." It's like in my days when we were growing up, I would say, Mom, I want to go to the candy store to buy some candy. Oh, no, don't, don't go there. That's where all, during the day, the afternoon, the tough guys used to hang out. And when they see the studious little little boy passing by, get, "Hey, idiot, what are you doing? Reading books? Come here, idiot." Any further comments? Okay, I think we'll stop here, and then next week we'll have, this will be the concluding class on the Angulimala Sutta. I actually thought that I could get it all in today, but I thought the issues brought up by the background story are quite interesting to discuss. And next week, I think we have to have the class here again, because there is a program going on next week, which you might also want to enroll for. Is Kaidi here right now? Yeah, there's a program, it's called Spiritual Retreat at the Monastery, a sort of introduction to the life in the monastery. The spiritual retreat, it starts on Friday. Evening is registration, 5 o'clock registration. Then you spend Friday evening, Saturday all day, and Sunday up through lunchtime in the monastery, living like a monastic style life. And it's not just a meditation retreat, but you have Dharma talks, introduction to different rituals in the monastery, the daily routine in the monastery. So if you want to enroll for that, you can still, they do it through the internet, through the Baus website. There's online registration, so you can do that. And I'll give talks, I think on Saturday afternoon I give a talk, and Sunday morning. But we could have the class next week, we could have it here, Saturday morning. Yeah, I will do that, because after that, October 13th, we have our Buddhist Global Relief Walk to feed the hungry, and I want to encourage everybody who's here to come for that, if you're able to. It will be in New York. Let me just take a little sip. I have a bug in my throat. Yeah, this is a nice drink, by the way. You prepared it for me? Last week. You had prepared it last week, too? Okay, October 13th, this is the Walk to Feed the Hungry. It will be on Riverside Park in New York City. The registration starts actually 9:15, but even if you get there 9:30, there's still plenty of time to register. Then we walk from 10 to 11. It's about an hour walk. Then we have a picnic lunch and a little closing, some Dharma talks to close the event. So please do come. And to find more details about it, you can go to the website of our organization, Buddhist Global Relief. It's the URL is www.buddhistglobalrelief, all is one word, .org. Then the following week I have to go to California. I'm going to California for 3 weeks. So the next class after next week will be, I come back November 9th, November 10th we'll have a class. And I'll make up the schedule after that. And then during the winter we don't have classes, I understand. From January on for 3 months. Okay, so let us share the merits, then we can go up and have lunch, and then we'll have the further discussion. I guess in Guanyin Hall they're doing part of the ceremonies there. But all the things have been moved over, the tables and chairs. We can come back here for the discussion. Okay, so let's share the merits. Akasata chabumata deva naga mehid punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang. Akasata chabumata deva naga mehidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu desanang. Akasata chabumata deva naga mehidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu mang parang. Ettavata cham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Bhavagupadaya avichihetato etantare satakayupapanna rupya rupicha asanya sanino dukkha pamuchantu pusantu vibhuting. Okay, then we end with 3 bows to Buddha. Oh, this is... Oops. Oh, there is a chime. Now I see the chime. It's behind the Buddha statue. Oops. Okay. We just do 3 half bows because it's... Actually, we always do 3 half bows. Sorry. Okay.